Hi there, welcome to my garden where I have my new bike. I did the one thing you're not supposed to do when selling a bike is buy a new bike before you've sold your old one. I've got the Versys up for sale because I don't really use it to commute anymore. And what I'm really enjoying is, as I found with the BMW Boxer R1100, is tinkering, getting it up and running. And I actually enjoy riding that one a lot more than I enjoy riding the Versys. So I thought what I'd do is I'd pick up another spare little project bike with a different configuration I can have a bit of a play with, try out a different engine style and see how I get on. So what I have in front of me is the one thing you're never supposed to do, buy someone else's project. I've gone out and I went on eBay, I put in a lowball bid of 570 for a BMW K100 from 1986. Mostly complete, I think is the right phrase. It does have some known issues in the advert, one of which was it doesn't run, front brakes are locked up, and it hasn't run for 3 years, but there has been quite a bit of work done to it. So what I'll do in a second is I'll take you off the stand and we'll walk you around and I'll show you all the things that I can immediately see that need fixing. I was told initially the battery was completely flat and was going to need to be replaced, but I have managed to take that out and repair that in the past week. Now the issue is, of course, coming into winter, I haven't sold the Versys, so my driveway is filled with that. This is now my back garden, so my wife's very, very happy. And what I'd like to try and do over the winter is at least get this running. I have done a couple of things. I have opened the fuel tank, seen there's a little bit of fuel in there, hit the starter, and had it running briefly. Now the problem is I haven't got much fuel in there, and that fuel in there is probably quite old, so I need to drain it, refill it with fresh fuel, and I think it'll actually run. I think the reason it didn't run is he didn't have the battery fully charged, which is what I've done, and that's just started things off. So I'll go through and we'll start off with some of the positives. So we're going to start with the positives, as I say. The positives are it's mostly complete. It's had its fairings removed. I'm not sure if it was an RS or an RT before. I'm actually going to do a VIN lookup and find that out, but it is mostly complete. Now, that's about it for the positives. As I say, I did throw and give it a little shake, rattle up the fuel tank, and it did start and fire off. And it appears all the ignition is working, all the lights come on correctly, the starter turns over, the indicators work. However, this side here was a bit sticky. So they all work. The horn also works and does all the lights. So electrically, I'm quite happy. The other thing that works is the gear indicator. I have tested that, and that also works. So although there has been some aftermarket botchery, I mean, you can see the state of this front end here, it's all pretty much there. The seat is in great condition, it's all open, all the bits for securing the battery are correct, the trays are all in, there's no real nips or tears anywhere. The back box is also complete, which is quite nice. No rack, but there we go. And I do have a box of the original indicators, so I could put them back together. So that's quite nice. I think it's now time we realistically move on to the negatives, and for that I'm going to have to consult my notes. As I said, it's someone else's project. So as part of that we have some things that are missing. I've already mentioned all the fairings, but you'll notice down here there is a main stand but no side stand, which is somewhat irritating. So that has to be purchased and replaced. Also on the subject of missing is all the mirrors. And if we come around the front here, you'll also see that I've got a problem with the handlebars. Full lock, they touch the tank, which makes me think either the tank is out of place and there's no rubbers in connected, because that shouldn't happen as it hits the indicator switch, or that these are the wrong handlebars for the bike. I don't know which yet. I haven't yet taken off the tank to find out. Now, on the subject of switchgear, all the switchgear has black overspray from the rattle can job. That's just tragic. And the front brake, as I say, doesn't work, and I'm not sure if there's a problem at this end or at the other, and I have a feeling it's at the other end. Back onto the good news just quickly. 38k on the clock. Real mileage by all accounts. It has not been on the road for some time. Now we'll continue around on the front, and we'll show off on the side here the kind of butchery. You see these light mountings rather than put the indicators through there. So we've only got one of these, we've got two. There's a bit of bad taping job just up around the back here, which I'm terrified about taking out at the moment. But they do all function, and all the beams do function. So I'm going to leave that alone for a while. You can see brake hoses have been replaced by something blue, and the horn has been relocated because I believe that used normally somewhere else. But it does work. The brake lines, however, maybe not. This brake line hasn't been replaced, and this brake switch has been taped together, but does function, so that's quite nice. The clutch does engage, and the clutch switch does function, as is everything in the box here, all good. So coming down the brakes, you'll see they're all zip tied up, because their brakes are basically solid. This is a non-standard mudguard by the looks of it, shortened one, which I actually quite like the look of, because he's also got gaiters on there. I don't know what's underneath those and those shocks. Not looking forward to that. The front wheel, as you can see, has been powder coated. However, it is flat, and where it's leaking from, I haven't yet figured out if it's a bad seat, a bad rim, a bad valve. He's claiming it's a bad valve, but we shall see. Coming round again on this side, you'll see a beautiful rattle can job, but it is there. I mean, it's all there, with the exception of a few things I've noticed. So I started to go down here once I heard it running a bit rough, and I was like, all right, we're missing some of the covers there. I can't remember what they're called, the little close-off nipples for when you do the balance. That is connected up, but I'm not sure how well, because it wasn't really happy to idle. A lot of the bolts have just been painted over. It's a rattle can. What can I say? I don't know what the guy's done. And around this side, of course, we've got the rear wheel, which is holding pressure. Again, powder coated, and some aftermarket exhaust that's not completely as bowish. This I opened up to have a look, just to see what was in the tank after I had it running for a few seconds. And that was probably a mistake, which is why I've not run it since. This looks to have been installed upside down. I believe it's supposed to open this way up, not this way up, because as I opened it this way, the whole of this room was filled with water from it's been raining for the last few days, and it just gushed into the fuel tank. I got to take care of that before I start running the bike again and turning it over. And here, from this view, you can also see just the quality of the rattle can paint job. But at least the fuel tank doesn't leak. Over here you can see, again, mostly complete. The paint job is there. The rear brake does work. Again, it's had its hoses replaced at some point. So you can see they're there, but they do function. And when the lever gets pushed, you can feel the brake applying, to stop the wheel spinning, and the brake light does come on. This is loose and floppy, so that needs to be sorted out, and the same is true on the other side. And again, that caliper is also off because, again, it doesn't move. So that's pretty much everything that's wrong. It's not terrible, really. It turns over. I have heard it running, even though I claimed it didn't. I do think there's a few parts I need to replace. Like, I've got to sort this out before it carries on raining, because every time it rains, this fills up with water, and I've got to empty the fuel tank. So I'm probably going to do that in a quick video next, just so people can see what I'm talking about. I've got to sort out that vacuum cap on the end there. I actually think I have a spare one of those from when I was refreshing the throttle bodies on the BMW R1100. I got the boxer engine. So if I get, if those are the same compatible vacuum caps, I can slip that on there. That actually might sort out quite a lot of my problems. What I also want to do then realistically is throw some more fuel in it, see if I can get it to idle. I'm not as concerned with much other than getting the engine running right now and making sure everything is okay. I have found a few pieces missing that we pointed out, a few things fitted incorrectly, found a few bolts that aren't quite right. So what I'd like to do is just kind of go through, make sure the engine is happy and get that running, which means sorting out the fuel tank, sorting out the engine. What I'm going to do at the same time is take off these front calipers. The front calipers, I think, just need a complete rebuild, but I'm not going to know what rebuild kit to get until I take them off, because I don't know what the base bike was before he's done everything he's done to it. So I will get that off and then I'll have a look. But that's the new project bike. I'm actually really excited. I've really enjoyed owning my Versys, but I don't really commute anymore, so it kind of kills a lot of that need. And the Boxer BMW is just fantastic. It does everything I need it to do. It's a good fun ride. Now it's all working correctly and happy as Larry, I don't feel the need to do anything more to it visually other than just kind of tart it up. But if I'm doing that, I'd rather fix something else up, get it to a finished state that I'm happy with, and then switch back and swap my fun bike across. So that's why I've gone for this. Again, different engine, same idea of get it running, then decide how I want it. I'm thinking a scrambler conversion, but I'm going to try and see if I can get away without altering the subframe, so I can always return back to stock should I want to. Because there are a lot of tubs on the internet where people have done conversions and thrown away or sold their old parts, and I'm tempted to get all those so I have the option to roll back should I want to. But again, I haven't really decided. My first thing is getting everything functional, getting it through its first MOT for what appears to be however long MOT has been recorded on the internet, because I can't find a single MOT history. But now it's on the driveway. We'll see how we get on.